Well, good morning, Storm Track 12 meteorologist Lesto with you here, taking a look at the latest 11 o'clock advisory as far as Erin is concerned. It's strengthened more now. The central pressure down about 10 millibars, down to 935 millibars, and we've seen that wind increase to 140. Still firmly within the category 4 of a hurricane, but the other thing we've noticed is a west-northwesterly movement and a slower movement. So it's starting to slow down a little bit here, which may mean it's kind of losing a little bit of that steering current that had been pushing it to its west, and we're waiting to see which upper level ridge is going to reestablish itself and exactly where this system is going to be going. When you look at the cloud tops, very cold cloud tops around the inner core with this system. It's in an area where it doesn't really have a whole lot of shear associated with it, but you do notice, though, further off towards the north, there is some shear sitting up here across Georgia and South Carolina. So it may start to feel a little bit of that as it continues to make its way into that area here over the next, say, 12 to 24 hours as we are continuing to watch this making its way towards the coastal areas for us here and in just passing off of the coast here in eastern North Carolina. So this is what we're going to be looking at. It's going to be going into an area where you've got very warm water. In fact, some of the warmest water in the Atlantic Ocean is sitting here waiting in its path, and that's why we do expect it not only to continue to strengthen, but also increase in size. And this is part of the reason why us here in eastern North Carolina need to pay attention to this system, as it is going to be starting to grow much larger, much wider, with the sphere of influence, as I like to call it, increasing. Visual forecast does hold it as a 4 through tomorrow morning. Then you'll notice passing towards the coastal areas here as at least a strong 2, if not a category 3. So borderline major hurricane for us here. Path, I don't think it's going to shift a whole lot further to the west here, but it is going to be, again, increasing in size, and it will eventually be dying out in the North Atlantic as we head through the weekend. You can see what I was talking about, that sphere of influence, and notice how it kind of brushes our coastal areas here. So especially Onslow County, Carteret County, the Outer Banks. That's part of the reason why Ocracoke is having evacuation. Same thing with Hatteras. It is going to be on the verge of seeing some of those stronger winds in excess of 35 to 45 miles per hour. And that's where we do expect to see some of those stronger wind gusts are going to be along the coast. What that's going to do is that's going to start to drive the water back towards the coastal areas here. We could be looking at 15 to 20-foot waves crashing along the coastline of Ocracoke, Hatteras, even along our Crystal Coast, anywhere between about 7 to 10-foot seas. So that's going to cause beach erosion. That's going to cause some ocean overwash, especially out on Ocracoke. And that's part of the reason why they have issued that mandatory evacuation out there. Mainly, it's going to be a coastal system for us here. We're looking at the coastal flood advisory in effect for Onslow County and Carteret County, as well as out towards Hyde County, with Ocracoke being included in that there. So these waves are really going to start to create some issues for us here. The other thing we're going to be watching for is on the back side of that northeasterly wind, starting to pile that water up in the southern part of the Pamlico Sound. So we're talking about back in towards Merriman, starting to see some sea level rises there. Same thing even on the core sound. We're going to be looking at some of those higher water levels as a result of that northeasterly wind really driving that air down into the southern part of the Pamlico Sound. And you'll notice here as we watch through tomorrow, those wind gusts do start to pick up, going to become a little breezier for us here. We're also going to be watching the strongest winds, I think, between the evening hours on Wednesday until the mid-afternoon hours on Thursday. That's when those wind gusts could reach in excess of 40 to 50 miles an hour. Ocracoke, down East Carteret County, not out of the question for us here. And then you'll notice even some of the inland spots still going to be looking at wind gusts 20 to 30 miles per hour across the afternoon hours on Thursday. Once that gets by here, though, we'll watch those winds quickly die down, and we'll eventually start to see a little bit more calming conditions coming our way going into this upcoming weekend. Should be a good night, Friday night for high school football. Not really expecting a whole lot of rainfall east of Highway 17 and even west of 17. We'll be tracking some scattered showers as those bands get close to the coast here. Now, I do have to warn you, we do have to be on the lookout for potential maybe some water spouts developing as those bands offshore get back towards the coast. Of course, we saw that in Dorian and Carteret County there in Emerald Isle at the travel park. That was back in 2019. So I'm going to jump off here now, get ready for the noon show. I'll have a complete update on that on ABC coming your way at noon. And, of course, we'll continue to keep you updated as these advisories come in the afternoon and evening hours here. And then I'll have another one for tomorrow. I'm Storm Track 12 meteorologist Les Still, alerting you to severe weather danger.